element in the array represents your maximum jump length at that position. Our goal is to reach the last index in the minimum number of jumps, and you can assume that that you can always reach the last index. So if you look at this example, 2, 3, 1, 1, and 4. So one would be like what you can. I mean, 2 jumps at max you can take, right? If you take this jump, then you will be here, here, and then here. So 3 steps by that route. But if I take this jump, it will directly fetch us to here. So below one will take 2, and this will take 3. So this is the minimum. Minimum is what 2 here, right? And yeah, so this is what 2 for this, and similarly for this, you can check if it is 2. So if you go here, you will never be able to, what do you say, reach the last index. So better go to this and then take a leap from here, which will take you outside the array. I mean, you will reach the end of it. And these are some of the constraints. Num's length is less than 1000, and element is less than equal to 10 to the power 5. Yeah. So what should be the brute force here?
Well, if you say the example one, okay, we just look at this first example. In
Mm-hmm.
this nums array, you have all these numbers which are all non-negative, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then you start from always from the zeroth position, and
Mm-hmm.
whatever is the value in that particular position at
Index.
that particular position, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So along, if you add that to your current uh, index or position,
Mm-hmm.
that will be your maximum jump from that position, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then if you jump, like in this case, you said if you go from in the zeroth position, you have 2. So 0 plus 2, so you can reach maximum to the
Up to.
second position.
Mm-hmm.
It's a zero-based array, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so when you are actually going to that end, so you find many numbers in between that also. Then you can actually look for those numbers and then construct your next jumps. Okay. And then you have to find the minimum number of jumps required. Okay. So is this similar to like a shortest path maybe because we are taking the minimum jumps, right?
Yeah, so we just need to calculate the minimum number of jumps we can get if we start from the leftmost index in the given nums array.
Mm-hmm.
Do you mean that we can convert it to graph path?
Yeah, I was thinking like it is like a graph problem. But yeah, as you said, first let's look at the brute force, right? So I we
Yeah,
lost him
so
again, I think. Yeah.
yeah, am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible.
Yeah, okay, so if we take the first example which they have mentioned, so we can always start from, so this is the nums array 23114. Now we can always start from the leftmost index and then try simulating the given traversal. So if I am at the leftmost index, since I can do at most, I can do a jump of at most 2 length. So either I can go to this index or this index, which is at 1. So this can be the first jump. Either of these I can perform. Now when I come to 3, again I have 3 possible ways to jump. That is, first is of length 1, second is of length 2, and third is of length 3. So,
Mm-hmm.
so in this way we can try simulating each of the steps, and then we can find that what is the minimum number of steps. For example, here, if you see from 2 to 3, the minimum number of steps was 1, and when 3 to 4, the minimum number of steps was 1 again. So this is how at last we just need to fall to the last index. So here, this is how we get the final answer as 1 plus 1, 2. But there can be more possible ways. For example, uh, I can take a jump of 1 from 2 to 3, then again a jump of length 1 from 3 to 1, then again a jump of length 1 from 1 to 1, and once more a jump of length 1 to 1 from 1 to 4. Now here the length of the path would be 1, then 1 again, 1, 1. So here the total length of the path is 4, since we made 4 jumps from each of the nodes. So this is the maximum possible jump which we can do. But since here we need to find the minimum possible jump, so we can try for the minimum possible path by just traversing each of the jumps. For example, when I am at 2, I can do both the jumps since the possible values of jumps. So the length of the possible value of jumps can be 1 or 2. Similarly, when I am at 3, I can do for jump of whole 1, 2, and 3. When I am at 1, I can do a jump of only 1. Similarly, when I am at 1, I can do a jump of only 1. And I don't have to calculate for 4 since I need to fall at this index. So there is no need of calculating for 4.
Is it backtracking approach?
Yeah. So the brute force would be the backtracking approach only. So we can do a recursive call where we will start from the leftmost index, and then if we see that after a certain amount of steps, the index goes out of this value, which is from the last one to any value greater than the last. This means that we have achieved our final goal. Since if I can jump to this one, I can specifically jump to my last index as well. So this is the recursive approach, I guess. So if I go with the implementation here, uh,
Yeah, but before
I will,
going there, yeah, that is good. But yeah, that's
yeah,
good one. So what you said is the DFS approach is a like a brute force also, right? So, but
yeah,
can we not actually look for other brute force approach like the one we do, like if we start from the zeroth index, what initially Shashank started discussing, right? So if we start with the zeroth index, then we keep
yeah.
going. Okay, then if you are not able to reach, that's fine. Okay, then we go to the next index and then we start jumping from there. Will that not
Yeah.
also be a brute force? I was just thinking loud. I understand this one
Uh,
is one of the
yeah,
way.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think that is slight optimized because uh, we are trying to get only the path which is possible, but here we are trying to explore all the possible paths.
Okay, okay. So DFS actually you still have to explore all the possibilities and all the paths, and therefore it will be a brute force. Okay, makes sense.
Yeah. So if we go with the implementation, we always start from the leftmost index, and then uh, and then if at any instant the start pointer goes either at the rightmost pointer of the given nums vector or greater than this means that we have come across our final destination. So we can just return the path length as 0. Otherwise, let's take our final answer to be large value, and then just start iterating through the possible value of jump lengths. So these values can be either from 1 to the given value of the given value at the particular index in the nums vector.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so if this is 0, if at any instant the value is 0, for example, in test case 2, here it was 0, this will never come in this loop. And then it will just return me a large value. And then I can just do not consider this as my answer since I am taking my minimum. So how this minimum is working, I am just recursively calling my DFS function. And since I made one jump of length this distance, and I'm adding this distance to my current index. So if at any point the pointer which is start goes out of it, I just return 0. Otherwise, if it is inside my given vector,
Mm-hmm.
I'll keep recursively calling this. But since I made one jump, so I will just add +1 in my answer. And then at last, since it will return 0, this value will be somewhat smaller than my initial value of the answer.
But why are you returning zero? You should be returning the jump step, right?
Yeah, but this jump is
Okay.
already added here.
The DFS returns that value. Okay, no
Yeah,
problem.
yeah,
So you got it
yeah.
now. Sorry. Yeah, this is good. Yeah.
So again, if we look at this closely, we can get to know that, for example, if I am at, so let's suppose I am at index 3. Now, one of the jumps which I made was of length 2. So uh, I I will fall to this index, and then I need to calculate my DFS for this index, which is 3, I guess here. So I need to calculate the value for DFS 3. But similarly, if you look at this closely, if I am at index 2, then again I will call DFS 3 again. But since we know that at each of the DFS calls, we are trying to optimize our answer, so these calls will be made twice. So here we can see it is a repeating sub problem. So we can just try. Uh, so we can,
Memoizing.
uh, yeah, we can try memoizing this, the recursive implementation to get somewhat like a DP implementation. So I'll just paste the DP one. Since they have specifically mentioned that the size of the nums vector is 1000, so I declared the DP vector of 1000 and initialize all the values with -1. And if at any instant I have uh, already covered that particular index, I will just return whatever the value, the minimum value it had previously in the recursive call. Otherwise, just assign this first and then return the value.
Okay, but did you find any difference when you used the DP and the previous approach in the time complexity in lead code?
Uh, the
No, just
there is
I
not,
don't know.
yeah, not so much
Not so much, right?
difference.
Okay, because the
Yeah, yeah,
constraints are not huge. Okay, no worries.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
But we can see this, for large values, it will be calling the same index more than once. So if the values at each of the index is pretty huge, for example, if this was 13, this was 11, this was 11. So for example, somewhat here, some index might be called more than 3 times. So for large values, this
It's
so each of
huge.
the DFS calls can be done more than once. So we just can try uh, the memoizing the value itself so as to reduce the complexity.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, this is good. And so do you
But
have a bottom up approach also for this one?
yeah. So the bottom up is pretty similar to the recursive one, but instead of just trying to see if the path exists and taking the minimum path
Mhm.
uh, from the initial step, we just try optimizing our uh, so we try optimizing our path from each of the index itself. So for example, here dp of I
Mhm.
denotes the minimum distance I need to travel to reach this particular index I.
Mhm.
So anyways, for dp of 0 will be 0 itself, since I don't have to jump anyways, since I'm always starting from the 0th index. But when I come at this index, so I will start my iteration from 1th index if it is 0 based indexing. Now I'll see what is the minimum number of jumps required to reach index 1. So we know the jumps will be always from the left side. So I will try to find what is the minimum jump, taking into consideration all the previous values in my nums vector. So here we can see the dp value of 2 was 0. So, and I can reach index 1 by taking a jump of length 1. So the steps which I can, so the minimum steps I can get to index 1 will be 1. Similarly for 1, I can see that from 3 I can get to 1 in 1 step. So the value would be, the total number of steps will be 2, because 1 step to get from 2 to 3 and 1 step to get from 3 to 1. So that would be 2. Similarly, one way would be directly jump from 0 to 1, since I am allowed to take a jump of at most 2 length. So
Mhm.
and out of all this, I will take the minimum one. So the minimum is 1. So I'll take the DP value here to be 1. Since in one step, I can get to this index by taking just a jump of length 2 from my initial index 0.
Okay.
Now, when I come at 1, I'll see this. I will again do the iteration from my leftmost points. So from 1, I can get to 1 in one step. Yeah, I can get in one step, and the number of steps I needed to get to 1 was 1. So the total number of steps would be 2. Similarly, from 3, I can take a step of size 2, and the total number of steps jumps required would be 2 again, since one jump from 2 to 3, and similarly one step of length 2 from 3 to 1. Now, if I see from 2, I cannot reach this index, since the at maximum distance I could reach was just one index previous to the current index. So out of this 2, I will take the minimum again, which would be 2 again here. And similarly, I will do this for 4. For 4, I'll see from 1 I can get in 3 steps. From 1, I cannot get to 4, since the maximum length I could cover was 1. And from 3, I can get to 4 in a jump of length 3 again, and the total number of steps required would be 2. And from 2 again, I cannot reach 4. So similarly, I will take the minimum, which would be 2.
Right.
So my final answer is just taking the last one, which is dp of n minus 1. So dp of
This
n
is
minus 1 is my answer. Yes, this is similar to longest increasing subsequence.
exactly. I was getting
Yeah,
that.
idea is similar because for each of the index, we are just taking the leftmost possible indexes just before the
LS you
constraint.
mean to say, right? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it is LS. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Only not the
yeah,
binary search. I mean, n square one. It is
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah. You
I think
cannot binary search it.
you can make binary search in that, isn't it? No?
it should be. I mean,
Values.
Because if it's LIS, they say usually you can make n log n.
Yeah, but the idea is similar to LIS. And
using only
the
right. I mean, ahead step will
yeah,
always.
so if we go with the implementation, this is somewhat similar to the DP one, but here the recursive one. But first we declare a DP of size, the nums vector itself, and initialize it with int max. Now to reach the 0th index, I don't need any steps. So I don't need any jumps. So I'll just initialize it with 0. Now I'll start with the 1 index, and I'll move till my last index in my nums vector. So I'll always keep iterating through my uh, leftmost possible index, and I will check if the sum of the current index and the value at that current index is greater than equal to 1 or not. So this determines I can cross the given point from my leftmost, so one of the leftmost index or not. For example, uh, this one I can get from 3 by taking a jump of length 2. Similarly, so the value at this the value of this index would be 3 plus 0, which is 3, and it is greater than or equal to the index of this one, which is 3 itself. So using this condition, we can check if I can get to this current index I using the previous index or not. If I can get, I'll just take whatever steps I took from the previous index, and then I add 1 since I'm jumping once, and I'll take I'll try to minimize all the possible values and then return just the final value, which is the dp of n minus 1, since I need to get through the uh, rightmost index of the given nums vector.
It's exactly same like that. Only
Yeah.
that line number 23 is added extra. There, like we check is if it is greater than. I mean, a of I is greater than
Yeah, there it is just nums of j is less than or equal to nums of I.
I.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then we just take this. There we try to maximize, I guess. Here we need to
Maximize
minimize.
longest. We have to get that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There we take
we won't be
maximum of.
able to use the login solution. Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Can I ask
Yeah.
why dp of 0 is not equal to 1 but equal to 0? Could you please?
Uh, since they have mentioned that you are initially positioned at the first index of the array. So if there is only one element present in the array, this means that I'm already present at that index, and that is the final destination also. So I don't have to take any jump. So the total number of jumps would be 0.
But yeah, yeah. So one doubt only in this problem is like whether should we go with DP or greedy? Like what? I mean, you got my point, right? Like
Now there is
easier.
one more.
How to-
If
Yeah.
we
So you
see
could go
the,
greedy for sure, right? You can actually
yeah,
look at the BFS traversal and then convert it to greedy. But it will
But
still be n square solution, I would say. It's not going to be, isn't it?
it will be n square only. Yeah, it will be n square only.
So even the DP solution, what he is showing here, which is the bottom of paper, that is also n square.
N
yeah,
square, yeah.
both the implementation are n square,
Hmm. Yeah,
but
both
the
of them.
greedy one is linear.
Really?
Is it?
Hmm?
Yeah,
No, n
greedy
into
one.
k will be, I think, something. Not n square exactly, but n
Yeah,
into
so
No,
that
no,
it
no.
should be n square, correct?
So uh, let me just clear this, and we can see how the greedy one works. So for the greedy one,
Mhm.
we will start iterating from our left index, and then we will have uh, we will have two pointers here. One would be the current end which I have to get through, and
Mhm.
one would be the current farthest I can get through uh, till my current ith index.
Okay.
So let's see how this works. So
Mhm.
this current far would be the maximum of whatever index I can get through from the current index while I'm iterating from my left index. And the current end is the uh, yeah, for the current end, this current end determines how our answer will be incremented. So
Mhm.
yeah, let's see how this works. So when I'm at index 2, both will be initialized with 0. Let's see here. Both will be initialized with 0. Now when I am at 2, I'll see what will be the my value of current far, which is 0 plus 2, which is 2 again. So my current far will be updated to 2.
Mhm.
So this value will be changed to 2, and I'll see uh, if the current index is equal to the current end or not. The reason is if the current index is equal to the current end, this means that I am making one of the jumps here. So since it is initialized with 0 and this index is 0 itself, so this means that at the 0th index, I will take some jump either to 3 or 1 or any of the indexes here.
Mhm.
So the current end,
so all the possible candidates are from zero to current far. I mean current farthest. Like to
yeah. So the current far means that I can get from whatever index I'm left with, I can get to current far in one jump itself.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Because if I'm at 0th index, uh, I can get to 2th index in one jump itself, I guess.
Yeah.
And similarly, so when I'm at index 0, I can see current end is 0 itself. So I'll change this value to whatever is my current far and increment my final answer.
Mhm.
Since I am making one jump here, so I'll increment my final answer to 1. Now this means that I can get to 2, which is my current end, in one jump only. I'll just set my current end here. I'll just, yeah. So current end is now pointing at 2. When I come to index 3, the current far will be updated to 1 plus 3, which is 4. Because current far determines whatever farthest distance I can get through from the current index. So it will be updated. So it will be updated to 4, I guess here. Uh, so this will be updated to 4, and I will see that the current index is 1, which is not equal to current end. So I'll just move to the next pointer. Since
I-
all these points can be covered
your
at only one jump only.
your answer you should not increase at that moment. Answer will increase only when your this like you started your pointer from 2, right? When your I
Yeah,
reaches the current farthest, then only answer will be 1. Like you updated it before, shouldn't be, right?
yeah,
Because you
but
explore all the possibilities, and then between
yeah,
2 and 1,
yeah, yeah,
whatever
yeah,
numbers are coming here.
yeah. But at 2 I am taking one jump.
Yeah,
Anyways,
but
at
that's that's not your correct answer, right? Because correct answer
yeah,
would
yeah,
have
yeah,
been which gives you the
yeah.
best.
At 2 the answer would be 0, but we
Hmm.
are setting it as 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's see how this works now. So when I come at index 1, this current far will not be updated, since I can get from 2 plus 1 to 3 only.
Mhm.
Uh, so this means that current far is still fourth index, but
Hmm.
the current index is 2 here. So this
Mhm.
means that I can reach till the second index in one step only, which is my answer. But
Mhm.
whenever the ith pointer is equal to, so whenever my ith pointer is equal to the current end, I'll just increment my final answer.
By 1, yeah, this is the
The
case.
yeah, the reason is so I can get till one in only uh, the number of steps which answer denotes, but after one, I can get to
Mhm.
all the further index in uh, I can
Larger
get
number.
to all the further index which is till current far in only answer plus one value itself. Let's see how this goes. Okay, so when I'm at 1, the current end is 2. So I can get till the second index in only one step. But similarly, the current far at the index 2 was 4. So this means that I can reach till index 4 in answer plus one step.
Right. Mhm.
So here we will just
Mhm.
update our answer to 2. And the current end would be updated to the current farthest index, which is now 4.
Okay.
So this
So,
pointer will move to this one.
uh,
Yeah.
so your answer will be updated only when you reach that particular index, correct?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The
After.
current end index. Since till current
Oh.
end index, I can reach in this answer steps. But after current index, any index I need to go, I the minimum number of steps I need to jump would be answer plus one. So this is
Mhm.
why whenever the index is equal to current end, I'll just increment my answer. And similarly here, so when I come at index 1, I'll see that 3 plus 1 is 4. The current far is 4 itself,
Mhm.
and the current end is 4, so this will not increment. And now comes the point. Uh, I'll just iterate till the I'll iterate till the second last index only.
Mhm.
Because if I iterate till 4, here the current far is 4, the current end is 4. So here the answer will get updated. So I don't want the answer to get updated and the total steps to be 3, because that denotes that from 4 I can make some steps to reach to further index. But I just need to go till step 4, the index where the value is 4 itself. So I will iterate till this point only. This
Okay.
is why this is
Mhm.
why when I am updating the answer, I am updating it when the index is at the current end index. So here it is looking as if when I'm at index 1, I can reach till index 1 in 2 steps. But uh, to see how many steps I took to reach 1, I have to see total number of steps 1 index before it. So here the answer was 1, but here the answer became 2. So this denotes that any index further this point uh, can be achieved in 2 steps. So that is the minimum number of steps we can get through. But there can be some other value also if the value is totally large.
Yeah.
So this is why the iteration is done till this point only and not till the last
Yeah.
index. But in the DP one, uh, we were iterating till the last index also.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
here, don't you think the time complexity will be n square? Because see, when you were at zeroth index, you reach to 2, right? Now you explore all the elements between 0 to 2, 0 index to 2 index. So if k elements are there, and that thing you do for every, what do you say, n slots, n into k, I was
Yeah,
thinking.
yeah,
They are
yeah,
mentioning it as a order of n, I don't know.
No,
yeah,
it
yeah.
is
So
order
let's
of
see
n actually. What is the way you
how this is
explain, right?
order of n. Let's see. So the answer would be initially 0. Similarly, this current end would be initially 0. Current far would be initially 0. Now current far is updated as the maximum value, that is I plus nums of I. This is how the current far is updated, nums of I at the current index. And then how I am updating the current end. This current end is updated whenever the current index, which is I, uh, is equal to the current end only. So all these values are updated in linear time only, and we don't have to do any further nested loop here.
Okay. But
So this,
but what I was thinking, like between 0 to 2, we are exploring all the elements, right? So k elements
yeah,
are there. Every such n slots will be there, n into k. But
yeah. Then it
looks
becomes the DP one only.
Yeah, it becomes to the DP. Yeah, converting to DP. But he is doing it, yeah, an optimized way, right?
Yeah, if we see the implementation, I've taken the same variables, which is current end, which denotes whatever the current end I can get through using this number of steps, which is my answer. And the current far is the farthest steps, farthest index I can get through till the current index which I covered. So this is just the maximum of the index of the current value and the value itself. And then I'll just check if my current index is equal to the current end. If it is, I'll just increment my answer. Otherwise, and then I will assign it my current end to the current far. Since in this number of steps, which is my answer, I can reach to the current far. And the iteration will go from 0 to the second last element in the nums vector.
yeah, you could have added one more line after 6 if current far greater than length of num. So early exit you can make.
Yeah. I could have done
That,
that.
yeah, that
Yeah.
would have worked.
Hmm.
Cool. So this is a linear time
Greedy one, yes,
complexity.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Otherwise, looking at this problem, this clearly says that since we need to optimize our number of jumps, which is the minimum one, we can try for the DP approach, which would be similar to the LIS approach, but it would be so it will take n square time and then O of n space as well. So to further optimize it, we can try opting for the greedy approach, which will
Right.
just the space complexity would be constant and the time complexity would be linear.
Yeah. So this is the
DP
most
doesn't
optimized version. Yeah.
optimize. DP
Yeah,
doesn't require intuition. Greedy requires, right?
yeah.
Because
Yeah.
like exhaustive search you
DP,
are doing, right? Yeah.
yeah. If we looked at this, even if we see the question, we can just try thinking of that recursive approach and then memorize it. Since in recursive approach, we are trying all the possible combinations to reach a given index, and then we can just memorize it. And if we memorize it, we can come across. So we can just opt for this iterative version as well.
Yeah.
Cool.
Makes sense. Yeah.
That's good. But actually, these jump game problems, most of them actually go with the DFS way also, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the jump game 3 is totally DFS.
No, no,
What we can
I
do is,
mean the bread first search.
yeah. The jump game 3 problem, which they have mentioned, it can be done using both DFS and BFS.
But it's hard to decide because greedy at times fails. TP will never fail, right? So
Yeah. But
basic would be to
here,
put TP only. Yeah.
yeah, but here we can prove why this is always working. Uh, but in some of the cases the proof fails. So that is how
You
we can
can't.
decide if we can opt for DP or greedy.
That's good. Okay. So
Yeah,
Shashank,
it's
what is your solution?
same on the
Okay.
greedy one. What
Hmm.
Abhishek just said, like is like base case. If your length of nums is 0, then you return. I mean, if only one element is there, you return 0. And this is my start and end and max index, right? So I'm initializing my steps to 1. Now this will go infinite loop as long as it's true. So what I'm checking every time you maximize, I go through the given start and end, right?
Mhm.
I just update what is my current index and I plus what the particular element at that position is. So that every time I'll update my max index, and this is like early exit condition. If you find that max index is greater than the length of the array, then you return the steps. Otherwise, your steps will be increased by 1, and whatever earlier your start was, that will become your end, and your end will become max index. Same what he explained using the diagram.
Yeah,
To
so
one.
even if this one is implemented using two loops, but this
Mhm.
is still a linear time complexity.
I thought because of this while inside a for, I mean
Right,
that
right,
kind of,
yeah.
but
So,
it's
but
not
the way he has implemented is complete linear. The
linear one. Yeah.
implementation itself is linear, but here we try to use two loops, and therefore we might get confusing as an n square, but it isn't.
Yeah. Yeah. Then I can switch. Okay.
Yeah, let's move on here.
So next is like Wiggle sequence. So a Wiggle sequence is a sequence where differences between subsequent numbers strictly alternate between positive and negative. And the first difference may be either positive or negative. And sequence with 2 or fewer elements is trivially a Wiggle sequence. Like if you check this number, I mean, you get the difference between alternate positive and negative, right? Because of which this is what a Wiggle sequence. On the other hand, this is not a Wiggle sequence. These two are not the Wiggle sequences because the first is not, I mean, first two differences are positive and second is not. In this case, last 5 minus 5 is 0, right?
Mm-hmm.
And subsequence is obtained by deleting, I mean, the generic definition of subsequence. Given an integer array nums, return the length of the Wiggle sequence.
Okay.
So yeah, yeah. So it's like entire array itself is your Wiggle sequence. 1, 7 minus 6, then 3. Alternating positive, negative differences, right?
So we take a difference and then we find if the difference is actually alternating between negative and positive. So that whatever it is alternating, so that length of subsequence will be our answer, the maximum one what we need to return.
Yeah.
So it is the longest subsequence of differences,
You can
of
say like that.
alternating sequences. Okay.
Alternating, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, instead of considering as the alternating sequence of difference, we can consider is a alternating sequence of adjacent elements to be either greater or smaller. Uh,
Waveform you are telling, array in the form of a wave, right?
yeah. So it is a hill kind of structure where if the two adjacent elements are uh, greater, then the next adjacent elements would be smaller.
Like a sawtooth wave. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that is what we have to find out, right? And that will be our longest subsequence if we are able to find out those differences if they alternate. Okay.
Yeah. So here I think again it will be normal only. Like we have to simulate what they are saying, or is there any logic behind it to use?
Well, okay. So first, the very brute force way would be just find out all the differences. Anyway,
Yeah.
we just have to return the number. We don't have to return the sequence, so that is still good. Okay, if you find the differences what they're showing in the example one, and then take a LCS of it. Okay, by keeping that in mind about the alternating number should be because I'll convert the whole of nums into a difference array first. The way it is
Okay.
like the 6 minus 3, 5 minus 7, 3. and use this difference array to form find a longest common subsequence. So the finding the longest common sequences that but because if you have to find an LCS, I usually have another nums array or something like that to compare with, right? But in this case, if I don't have, so I can always compare my adjacent ones with positive and negative values if they are alternating, right? But I'll still keep a tab whether it was the previous was like a climbing hill, ramp up or ramp down, something like that. And based on that, I can do a LCS.
There.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that is a sort of a brute force, you can say, but I'm just thinking loud. So that may work, but implementing will be again uh, doing all those things wouldn't be necessary because we can find much better ways of doing it, right?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, because
yeah.
Abhishek said, right, you don't have to do all those because if you just look at the adjacent element, if it's lesser than on the first go, and then if it was lesser, then for the next one you have to go for a like a decrementing. If it was increasing in the first one, so you look for
Decreasing.
a decreasing in the next one. So if you
Hmm.
keep alternating that way, then you don't have to do all those things, and then it might be a more optimized way of implementing.
Hmm. Or I was thinking prefix difference, suffix difference, and then alternative we can do something, but I'm not
Prefix
sure.
difference, okay.
Uh, it starts difference from left to right. Again, from right to left, you take the difference. Two arrays you create, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay, okay.
then, but that will work only if it is substring. They are asking subsequent, right?
No, that's fine. Why not? So see, the previous one subsequence I was trying to do that was a brute force. That is the reason I said because we can still find better ways, and one way is what you said. Correct. So if we have 6 minus 3, 5 minus 7, 3, it's very straightforward. But if we take some other example, okay, in that case, if we have a, okay, I think, yeah, this one is better. No, example 2 is also the same, right? Yeah.
It's yeah.
So, yeah, in that case, if we do the way, if you are saying that we have to find a sort of a starting from left to right again, and then keep on looking for alternate.
Uh-huh.
And if we don't find it, then we don't increment that our current count. So we'll have to do both ways,
Yeah,
isn't it?
right to left and left to right is yeah.
Is it only that, or we'll have to do something more? Because see, if I start at the first index, if I don't find it, if I'm always increasing, then I keep on moving. So there
Hmm.
may be another index which I'll have to start with from still from the right side only, isn't?
I mean, I'm thinking loud. I haven't like
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'm also.
gone into yeah. So what you are saying,
So
like, yeah, go ahead.
so we could do like this, do like a DFS way,
Okay.
right?
Uh-huh.
So in the DFS, then we always start with, yeah, initially with the both the at the same zeroth index always, and then we assume that I'm starting with an increasing flag, or maybe uh, I'm going up, okay, for the first one, and then keep on doing the DFS and find out how much I'm able to achieve. Okay, so
Okay.
every time I at the next position, I look for what my previous one was. It was increasing, then I look for the decreasing one in this case, and
Yeah.
then I'll keep on increasing my count. But I'll keep on looking for always for the decreasing because I start with the increasing,
And
and then
again,
again I go for the next level in the recursion, and then keep looking for the opposite side. So
flipping
whatever
everything.
the value I get and I return, but still I need to look for uh, the if I started with increasing, then I'll have to look for decreasing value, means up or
Okay.
down, and then I'll have to
So
do two such traversals and then find out whatever is the maximum and then return.
in one loop, it's not allowed. I mean, we can't do. I mean, if you take increasing only, then
Hmm.
alternate increasing, decreasing will go. Is it necessary to again go with decreasing? Oh, it can give maybe, who knows, it might give you longer length. Is it?
Yeah, you'll have to try both. So
Yeah,
I think
both.
that will be again a brute force.
Yeah. and then keep on caching also,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah, so this will be a top-down approach, and if I do a memoization, then that might be uh, a one way of actually implementing, and it might help to some extent,
Hmm.
right? And then the way you said, that will be sort of a bottom-up approach, correct?
Like creating that prefix and suffix difference array.
Okay. Well, I'm not getting if we can do that way.
Yeah, I
Uh,
am also not sure. Like
mhm.
what I do
We
here.
can try for the similar alias approach here. So in the alias approach, we always needed a increasing sequence, but here we need both increasing and decreasing sequence. So if at any index, the previous index makes it a increasing sequence, so my total sequence would be whatever that particular increasing sequence I took, and then
Mhm.
the whatever decreasing sequence I had before that particular index. Similarly, if there is decreasing sequence, then I'll take that particular decreasing sequence and I will take whatever increasing sequence I had before that particular decreasing sequence. So
So
at
will
last,
equal two branches are coming. Okay.
yeah, so at last we can take the maximum out of whatever sequence we got.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is going by that is same what Santosh was saying, right? Recursive. I mean, take both the paths and then maximize at every level.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So if we take the
He's
iterative,
talking about LIS way,
yeah, yeah,
so you could
iterative
do it
alias,
the iterative way.
You want to share?
yeah,
Like, sure, sure.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, so if I take this example only, so here the length of both the sequence I'll denote it by up and down. So up denotes the uh, the sequence ending with increasing one, and down denotes the sequence ending with a decreasing one. Decreasing this particular adjacent element. So for one, it will be both would be 1 1. For 7, I'll see 1 7 makes it a increasing sequence. So I'll take whatever value I had in 1, which was decreasing, because decreasing, then again increasing, then decreasing, or the reverse one, which would be first decreasing, then increasing, then decreasing, then increasing. So if I take 1 7, here I can see it is an increasing one. So I will take the value of the decreasing sequence at the index 1, and I will add it to my 7.
Mm-hmm.
So it will be 2 here. And since I don't have any decreasing sequence, so this here, I can just take this as one of the initial values of that particular decreasing sequence. So this is
Right, right.
how this two will be updated. Now at 4, I will see 1 4 makes it a increasing sequence. So I will just take the value of D and I will add 1 to it, which will give me 2. Similarly, when I come at 7 and 4, I'll see that this is a decreasing sequence. So I'll take the value of up or the increasing sequence at 7 and I will add 1 to it. So this gives me 3.
Mhm.
So the increasing one here would be 2 and the decreasing here would be 3, which is 174 all. Now when I come at 9, I will see 1 9 makes it increasing sequence. So I'll take the decreasing value and add 1. So it will give me 1, and which is for the increasing one. Now when I come at 7 again, this is a increasing sequence. So I will take the decreasing value at 7 and I add 1 to it, which will give me 2 here. When I come at 4, I will see this is again a increasing sequence, and I need to take the decreasing value at 4, which is 3 plus 1, which is 4. No, 4, 9. This is an increasing one. Yeah, okay. So this is 4. And I don't have a decreasing sequence at 9, so I can just take it as 1. So out of all these values, I will try to take maximum 1 because I need to maximize my sequence. So here it would be 4 and here it would be just 1 since I don't have any decreasing sequence ending at 9. Now when I come at 2, I'll just check this.
But don't
1,
you
2
have to
makes a,
look at the previous one always in that case?
yeah, all the previous one we have to look at.
No, no. So when
So
you're at the D, when you are writing
yeah,
1, instead of that, should not that be 3 in this case? Whatever
no,
is the minimum, that's fine, right? So,
yeah, D of I would be the sequence ending with a decreasing adjacent elements. But 9 doesn't have any greater value in the previous indexes.
mhm.
So if 9 doesn't has any uh, value which is greater than 9, which will make it a decreasing sequence at last. So I can just take 9 as an initial element of my decreasing sequence. So in that way, the value 1 comes here.
Okay.
Yeah, so when I come at 2, I'll see 1, 2 makes an increasing one, so I'll take 1. When I see 7, 2, this is a decreasing sequence, so I'll take the value up. So this will be 2 plus 1, which is 3. Now when
Why
I
do
come
you
at 4, this,
reverse one? Like if it is decreasing, you take the increasing value from the array.
because I need to maintain this one. I need to maintain the hill. So if I see that it is an increasing one, I need the value of all the decreasing ones before or starting at that particular index. So
Okay. Uh-huh.
So similarly, for 2, we will get to know that for 2, 9 2 makes it a decreasing sequence. So I'll take the value of increasing sequence till 9, which is 4. So I'll just take this as 5 here. And the increase most, so maximum value of increasing one would be 1 2 only. So I'll take the decreasing sequence till 1 and add 1 here, so it will be 2. Now when I come at 5, I will just look at all the previous indices and then I'll check which will give me the maximum value for both increasing and decreasing ones. So I'll see that when I come at 2, so 2 5 makes it a increasing sequence, and the value of decreasing sequence till 2 was 5. So this gives me the value 6. I made some error. No, no, okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, this is correct type. And 4 and 5. No, no. What is the decreasing one here? Decreasing one is the 9, 5. So the decreasing here is 9, 5, and the value of increasing sequence till 9 was 4. So I will get a decreasing sequence of length 5. So out of all these possible values, I will take the maximum of the increasing ones and the maximum of the decreasing ones, and I will take the maximum of both the sequence, which will
Okay.
give me 6 here, which is my answer.
Right. Yeah. So this is good. Before you go to your other things, one thing could we just try, So there is another implementation, right? So this might be one way to do for sure. But if we initially have similar like up and down, whatever you have denoted over here, okay. So we initialize both of the start points with 1 1. That is correct. But then we keep on looking for this value, and we keep on moving this index. Like if your this index is at 7 in that case, and then if you compare with the previous one, okay, if it is actually here it is increasing, right? So when it is increasing, so you always take whatever is your this value, then you actually increase 1 plus the decreasing one. In that case, d is 1, so that will be 2. Okay. And then, so for your D in this case, you will actually, for this D value, for you, it will be the same what you did for 1, 1, right? But then when you come for 4, in this case, when you come for 4, 4 is actually, um, 4 is lesser than the 7. So in that case, you will increment your down. Down will be incremented by 2 plus 1. So that will be 3. Okay. And then your up will be actually the same as the previous one. So 2, 2, right? But when you come to 9, in that case, what your 9 is? 9 is actually greater than 4. Correct. So in that case, what you are going to do is you are going to increment your up actually with 3 plus 1. So that will be 4. But your down actually should remain 3. If you can just mark that for 3 for a different color for now. Yeah. And then you come to 2. So now 2 actually is lesser than 9. Right. So 2 is lesser than 9. So your down will actually have 1 plus up. So that will be 5. Correct. And then your 2 actually will be equal to your 4. Yeah. Right. And then you come again to 5. 5 will actually be greater than 2. Right. 5 is greater than 2. So you actually increment the 5 is
By
greater
1.
than 2, right? So up will be increment by 5 plus 1, that will be 6. And
No, no,
your
down,
down will be equal to 5, right?
down,
Yeah,
down.
Yeah.
yeah.
So this actually your, yeah, 3. Is that a different one or this also will be the same?
So
Yeah,
he was
Why I was
this,
thinking, it should always be increasing, whatever you are doing, correct?
yeah. So, so that would be the further optimization here. So
Oh,
the
okay.
reason
Sorry. Yeah.
we, yeah. So the reason we need to further optimize it, since for each of the indexes we are running a loop again for each of the indices. So the complexity would come out to be n square, which is similar to the LIS one.
Oh, okay. Okay. So you are
But
going to that, but
yeah,
before that, you
yeah.
are trying to explain one more. Sorry about that. Yeah. Yeah.
No
Okay.
problem.
Yeah.
So what you were saying is first we copy whatever value is present here,
Mm-hmm.
and then we will see if it is increasing one. We will take the we will take the down value and just increment our up value by one,
Mm-hmm.
which is 2 here.
Right.
Then we
Mm-hmm.
just copy this value in my next iteration, and I'll
Mm-hmm.
see whatever is the sequence. If it is increasing, I will take my down value and update my up value to down plus one. And if it is
Mm-hmm.
decreasing, I'll update my down value to up plus one.
Right. 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 Yeah.
So this further reduces our complexity to be n only, since we are just iterating through each of the indices once,
Mm-hmm.
and we are keeping track of the previous value of the up and the down sequence. So this can be done in taking another vector of size n, and then we can just keep updating the up and down values. But if we look at this closely, we will get to know that we just need the previous value and not the all the other values. I just need the previous value for the current one. Similarly here, I just need the previous value. So this up and down, which were a vector previously, we can just take it as a variable.
Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah.
So if we take it as variable at each of the iteration, we can just keep updating however the sequence is. If this is the sequence, we'll update our up to be down plus one, and if this is the sequence, we'll update our down equal to up plus one.
1.
Perfect. Yeah. So you can use, you can do this with linear time complexity and constant space. Abhishek, we lost you.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes,
Hello.
slightly your voice is actually lagging.
flickering a little bit.
Yeah, am I audible now?
You are audible, yeah. We hear you.
But
Okay, okay. Okay, so if we go with the implementation, oh, am I audible now?
Yeah, perfect.
yes.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You. Oh, he is not able to hear us.
Oh, let's write in chat.
Maybe he has some poor network connection. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that will be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
we
you
only
have a similar implementation, right? The last one.
last. So adjacent elements you compare, right? And if you find previous one is your decreasing because of not equal to true, then just to increase your length and you for the next call you make it as true, right? And when you go for the next, if it is decreasing and you check the previous one was increasing, then you increase the length in that case. And for the next call, you make the up as your false.
Well, okay. So his explanation about the last implementation was not exactly like this, because what he was doing is he was starting with two variables
Up
for
and down.
both the up and down, right?
Mm.
And then he was initializing that with the initial value of your nums 0. Okay. And then he was comparing like the way you are doing here. And also,
Max value he was taking every time between up and down, right?
but that will be at the end.
Yeah.
So then you keep on updating, but here you are actually returning the length. Instead of that, he was actually incrementing, like if you say answer in this case or length maybe. So you will have two lengths. One will be a length for up and other will be length for down. Okay. And then the same thing what you do here, but your length
Actually,
for up will be incremented only when in the, on line number 9, and
9,
your
yeah.
length down will be incremented on line number 12.
Yeah.
Okay, and every time when you are moving ahead, so the lengths will remain because he was copying the previous values always for the
Next call.
next one. Yeah, so every time, even if you are increasing only the length up, you should always copy your length down, because I think that will remain the same. No, it's not going to change. Yeah. Okay.
It's because of the variable. I mean, because of this variable, it is getting. I mean, I'm not using length up and down. Otherwise, if I remove this, then I'll have to use length up, length down, and then check and update value and pass it for the next one, right?
Okay. So you
This
are
part
doing
is
that way. So you are comparing this one, and okay. So your up is not true, but is still your I is greater than I minus 1. Okay. So you are looking for up, which was the previous state.
if up not equal to true, that means previous one was a decreasing sequence.
Yeah. So that is what
Yeah.
you are. So it was decreasing. So now you have to look for an increasing, and therefore,
Decreasing. Yeah.
yeah.
Vice
So okay.
versa.
Yeah. This is a more optimized version.
Yeah, that variable,
Okay.
single variable.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's greedy, yeah?
This is
Looks like, yeah,
really,
this is greedy one. Yeah. That was DP, the one he was showing, LIS based.
No, it wasn't DP, because he was actually he started forming using DP, and then he moved on from there. Then he also came to the greedy, right? Using two variables.
Two variables, yeah.
Yeah, he moved on from bottom up also. Then he said it can be done with this the greedy way, and therefore he was trying to show how he evolved from the dynamic programming approach, both the ways, top down, bottom up, and then slowly migrating to the greedy.
Two variable, yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's good. Hey, Abhishek, can you hear us again? Yes.
Yeah, am I audible now?
Yeah, you are
Yeah,
audible. Yeah, you were audible that time also, but you are lagging.
yeah,
You
what?
had a
Okay,
bad network. Okay.
okay. So this is the n square approach, which is similar to the LIS implementation. So we will start. So I have declared a 2D vector, which is n cross 2. So this denotes, so let's see what is this. DPI0 denotes subsequence ending at I with negative difference. So this means that it is a decreasing, so it is ending with a decreasing sequence. And DP of I1, this can be taken as the down one, and this can be taken as up one, but I did this in single 2D vector.
Mhm.
So this is sequence ending with at I with positive difference. So this means that it is a sequence ending with increasing adjacent elements. And now here I just declared my DP vector, which is n cross 2. And now for each of the indices, starting from 1, I'll check for the leftmost indices. If the difference is less than 0, this means that it is ending with a negative difference. So I need something which is increasing for the previous sequence, and which is dp of I1, which I'm taking dp of j of 1, and then adding 1 since I'm adding one more element in my current sequence. And I take maximum of all those things. Similarly, if it is a increasing sequence, I need a previous decreasing sequence, so I will take this one, dp of I of 0, which is dp of j of 0, and then adding plus 1 since I'm adding one element. And I am skipping the fact that if both the elements are equal. So
Right. Yeah.
if both the elements are equal, I don't have to take both the elements in my sequence. And then I assign it to my variables, which corresponds to this one, and then take maximum out of all the variables.
Mhm.
So this is the n square approach, similar to the LIS one. But here we come to know that I just need to keep track of the previous DP state, which would keep track of the previous increasing sequence or the previous decreasing sequence. So this is similar to, so this is just implementation of that approach, where I similarly declare a n cross 2 vector, but at each of the iteration, I first copy the previous DP state, and then I update accordingly. Which is if it is an increasing sequence, I take my decreasing sequence value. If it is a decreasing sequence, if it is a decreasing sequence, I take my increasing sequence value and add 1. And since here we are copying the values, the final value, which is the maximum out of all the values, will be at my last index, which is nums of size -1. And I can take either of the, so I can take maximum of either of the sequence ending with decreasing ones or increasing ones.
Right. Right. Okay. So
But
this is the
here we
optimized
see,
version.
yeah, but here we see that I just need to keep track of the previous DP state, which can be done using two variables also. So here I just declare a up and down variable, and this is just whatever I did here. If it is an increasing sequence, I update my up value with down +1. So down denotes the previous sequence ending with a decreasing adjacent elements at the last two values of the particular subsequence. And if it is a decreasing one, I'll take my up +1 and update my down one. So this is so here I did not said about the what here we were doing, but the idea here is we were finding the peak elements in our hill. So here if it is 7, and then here it is 4, here it is 9, and if let's suppose this was 10, so after 9 there would be some 10, and after 10 there was 5. So here using up and down variables, we were finding the local minimum and the local maximum, which is the peak elements in our hill.
Right.
And the sequence including all the local minimum and local maximum adjacent to each other was my final answer. So here the final answer would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out of 6 elements, my answer is 5. So this is what we were actually doing when we were taking up and down value. Because if it is increasing, for
Mhm.
example, if it is increasing, the
Mhm.
down value does not get incremented or updated. So the up
Okay.
value will be always down plus 1. And here I just needed whatever the down value here. So till here, whatever I got the down value at each of the points, I just need the up value incremented by only 1.
Mhm.
So at each of the indices, it will be down plus 1. But since down is not getting incremented, we
Mhm.
will just try to achieve our local maximum, and there we will just increment our up value to be down plus 1. So this is how the proof of the greedy approach is working, and
Mhm.
this is why the answer will be always correct if we try with the greedy approach.
But is it not the last approach what you discussed when you converted a complete evolved actually DP from
Yeah,
bottom up to
yeah,
this to
yeah,
it is
but the
almost the
idea,
greedy, right?
yeah, yeah, but the idea is the main idea is this one, because this is how we can justify why the greedy approach is giving us a correct answer.
Okay, yeah, makes
Because
sense.
DP approach, we can directly say this is giving me an optimal answer, but for greedy approaches, we need to either prove it mathematically why it is giving, or we need to give a proof of correctness of why it is giving me a correct answer in this particular approach.
Yeah, perfect.
So,
Yeah.
so finding peak elements is what the main logic here is. So at
Okay,
last we
therefore
just
there
return,
is subtle difference between both of them, even though they look
yeah,
same, right? Yeah.
yeah. And at last we just return whatever is the max value of either the last sequence is increasing or the last sequence is decreasing.
Yeah, this is right. Yeah. Thank you.
So next is like third maximum number. So you're given an integer array nums and you have to return the third maximum number in the array. And if it doesn't exist, you return the maximum number.
Mhm.
So like here one is your this, here two. So you see.
Okay. So we just need to return the third max always.
Yeah.
Okay. So now the brute force would be just go through the loop.
Hmm.
Okay. One at a time. First find the most maximum element and then just mark it with some number. Maybe make it the most least element. Okay. And then you go another call the do it a second time for the second max. So again
Hmm.
mark that to the something like int min, and then you go for the third one, right? And at that end you return whatever your third value is will be,
Right.
right? So that will be a brute force approach. And they
Yeah.
are saying that if you aren't able to find it, then you need to return the maximum element. So in that case, which would be the max element of all the three of whatever the input is, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So that actually takes care of the brute force. Okay. So
You
now how
sort
best? Mm-hmm.
if you sort it, sorting is not allowed. Sorting, I said, I mean, if you sort the array itself, then pick the number or maximum.
Yeah, sorting should not should be fine, right? Isn't it?
Yeah, but O of n we have to bring, right? O of n.
Yeah, they are saying the follow-up is that. So still we are not in the follow-up. All right. So
Yeah,
you can still sort it.
one of the brute force would be just put all the values in a set. And then if the size of the set is less than 2, this means that the third max is not present. So we can just return the maximum value. Otherwise, if the size is greater than equal to 3, we just need to find the third element in the set.
Right. Yeah. Either you put in a set which is an ordered one, or you do a sorting also. Both will
Yeah.
be the same, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but in sorting, since we don't need to consider the duplicate elements, but in so this will be covered up in when we use
Oh,
set.
yeah. That's very important. Yeah. Or else you'll have to go another pass in sorting and remove all the duplicates.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. So set is always a better option, a more optimized version of doing that. Cool. Okay. And then what will be the most optimized version?
Yeah, one of the optimized version would be just use a heap.
That's
So
again a sorting.
Okay,
we just
Uh,
maintain 3 elements in the heap.
right. So that will be a min heap,
K log
Yeah.
K. Yeah.
min heap, and along with them, you still have to use a set also, right?
Yeah, but since we have only 3 elements in the heap, we can keep track of all the 3 elements. And then if at any instant we need to push duplicate elements, we can check if the element is already present in the heap or not.
Okay, so you either use three variables or use some other data structure to find out if there is
Yeah,
a
yeah,
duplicate or not. Okay, makes sense.
yeah.
So that will
And
also be an optimized with a space, and it will be in O
yeah,
of n. Mhm.
yeah. And since the k log k factor will be very small, so we can treat it as the constant time
But
operation.
is log k will be, it will be log k, right? N log
Yeah,
k.
and k,
K will be 3, so
yeah,
it will be constant.
3. Yeah.
So we
So
can say it is constant.
yeah, yeah.
Right, yeah. So then what Shashank is showing will be the most optimum way with O of n, correct?
Yeah.
With 3 numbers.
Okay. So then you are using three numbers and then you are actually updating all the three numbers. Yeah.
Everything, yeah. And at last, whichever is maximum.
Hmm. So this is also very handy, this trick, right? About the three numbers. Sometimes
Yeah,
you have only two numbers. Yeah.
it's asked many times also. Like
Uh,
coming
yeah.
third maximum, you know.
Yeah. So this trick is
Yeah,
really cool. Yeah.
this trick was used in one of the problems, I guess, where we needed to maximize the uh, product of any one pair. So we need to find the max product of any two elements in the array. Or
So
Okay.
then
Uh-huh.
in
yeah,
product, then
there was one. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we needed to find the maximum two values or and the minimum two values.
Yeah.
So in
Very
that
good.
case, we can take this approach.
Hmm. Yeah, but this one is a very good trick. So you're actually maintaining a small vector, right? With
yeah,
three
3 of
values.
size.
Okay. Okay. And then if your number is actually greater than your V0, so that will be your first largest number, right?
Number, yeah.
Uh, because what you are actually returning whatever is the maximum when you go to the ninth.
In the 3, I mean, these are the 3 possible candidates every
Okay.
time, right? And out of them, whichever is maximum, I just return. Yeah.
No, actually, only you have to return maximum number only if you're infinite, if you reach that float minus infinite, or else you'll always return the V2. Correct. So
Yeah.
that is the third largest always.
Last one.
Yeah. Okay. So that will be the third largest. So V0 will be your first largest. So whenever your number is greater than your the first largest, you need to replace that. So, but before replacing, you need to shift that V0 and V1. You call it shifting, but here in our case, we actually copy the previous two values to the next two ones. All right. But when
Yeah.
you see your number is actually uh, lesser than V0, but greater than V1, so then you need to update your V1. But when you update your V1, you actually store your previous V1's value to in the V2.
Hmm.
Right? Yeah. And then if it comes to your number is greater than V2, but actually it is smaller than V1,
Then
right? Yeah, then only you go and update V2. That will be a straight update there.
for the largest, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in lead code, the minimum value which they have considered in the array is the int mean value itself. So there are, so there we can get some wrong answers. So
Yeah.
when I
Uh-huh.
tried using int as a variable,
Uh-huh.
then I was getting wrong answers there
Right,
because
right.
the minimum values which they took was the int mean value itself. So this is
Yeah.
why I have to take this as long int and
Mm-hmm.
initialize it with long min. And now, so f max is the first max, then s max is the second max, and t max is the third max. And
Mm-hmm.
I just need the value third max here. So if the current value is greater than the first max, I'll just swap the values first and then update my f max. Otherwise, if the value is greater than the second max and it is not equal to f max. So this is just to keep track of duplicate elements. And if this is not the case, then I will first update my third max to S max and then assign it to my second max, which is the current value. Similarly, if the current value is greater than T max, and if it is not equal to either of both this, and then I can just update it. And finally, if this value is not touched at all, then it will be long min itself. So in that case, I can just return my first max value.
Right.
And if it is touched, then this value will be changed to some other value other than long min. So I can just return my third max value.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. They are actually using, because if you look at the constraints, the constraint says that your number can be between int max to int min. Yeah.
Yeah.
So therefore, you cannot use your int min as an initialization for C++. Then
Yeah.
I was thinking, why can't we use an unsigned int? Okay, and then do. But then if you use an unsigned int, then actually you are going to miss on the minimum int min side, right? Yeah, the negative values.
Yeah.
That
So
is also
if we
not
take
possible.
unsigned one, then we won't be considering negative values.
Yeah. So then
But
yeah,
there
that is
are negative values in the
yeah.
given nums
So
vector.
so we don't have any options. We'll have to go this way,
Yeah.
right? But even Shashank's code, if you look, he is using float.
Yeah.
Float minus infinity is using.
Yeah,
So
I
they
think
are also
minus
having problem
infinity
there.
is greater than. So minus infinity would be lesser than this value, I guess.
Right. It will be lesser than this. But
Yeah.
they also, he's also not using normal type, means like the integer type also. He's also using float.
I
Yeah.
Right,
have one
Susan?
question here. If the last line returns, if Tmax is long min, then why we are returning first max, not the second max?
It is mentioned if the third maximum does not exist, return the maximum number. So we just have to return the first max value.
Yeah, that's mentioned in
Oh.
the question. Yeah.
So doesn't the second maximum number is the maximum number?
Yeah, it makes sense, but that is what they are saying. What's
No,
in-
so first max is the largest value. S max is the second largest value.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, got it.
Yeah, no problem. So this is why we are using this ternary operator to get our final value as the answer.
So I thought they should make it like this. If it's the third max, you return. So whatever is the lowest max, you return.
Yeah, they could have
But
mentioned it.
yeah,
But
but that's not
in
like
that case, if second max is also long min, then
again you'll have to
we
go for
need
the first max. Yeah.
yeah.
So
So this is
instead
why
of that, they said let's not make it too complex. It's an easy
yeah.
problem.
Anyways, there would be one element present in the array.
Mm.
Even if there are multiple duplicate present, that would be our first max value or the largest value. So this is why they took return the maximum number as answer in that case.
Yeah.
But even then, the dislikes are huge.
Yeah, the dislikes are always there.
I
Yeah.
guess this is because of the duplicacy in the elements.
Hmm.
If it was not duplicate, then we just don't need to add these conditions, this
Yeah.
two condition.
Because of that, it is slightly complex, correct?
Yeah, and in C, C++, again, they have added int min as the minimum answer.
Yeah.
So this would add another
Yeah.
extra lines for
Yeah.
C and C++.
Let's look at Shashank's solution. Shashank, can you please come share that? Because what is the signature asking in Python? I just wanted to see what they are expecting an integer return, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so he is also initializing to float.
To minus infinity everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that you are but typecasting to float, correct?
Mm-hmm. Internally, it does it automatically.
Yeah. So float actually is still a 32-bit, or it will be slightly more, no? It won't be
64, I
32-bit.
think.
Yeah. The size of float is greater than long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for sure we will be able to take care of that int min here also. Int min and
Yeah, and in line 9, this will the compiler will specifically typecast it when returning the values. So even if the value, the value of v is float at first, whenever the values get swapped, it will dynamically the data type will be typecasted to int.
Yeah. So that happens here.
Yeah.
Good. Yep.
Yeah.
So thank you. I'll just stop this one.